Part 2. How?
Now, does this mean that, scientifically speaking, a zombie apocalypse could actually occur? The zombie apocalypse could actually be upon us at this very instant, starting with your grandmother. That's right, old Gram could be plotting your death at this very instant. Are you alright, miss? Hello? Are you okay?
Just kidding. However, recent studies have shown that 5 to 11% of deaths due to Alzheimer's disease actually had been wrongly diagnosed, and those people whose families were told that they had Alzheimer's disease really died of Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease.
Scary, isn't it? We're told repeatedly that CJD is a very rare disease, so rare that only 1 in a million people contract this disease every year.
With 4 to 5 million people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease each year, if only a few of those patients have been diagnosed incorrectly, CJD may be much more common than we have been led to believe.
As it is, recent reports have shown that many pathologists aren't keen on testing CJD for fear of contaminating their facilities with prions, as the annoying little buggers can infect even the most sterile medical instruments and stay on them for years. A lot of bacteria and viruses die within days, but prions hang around way past their non-existent welcome. So basically, scientists are so paranoid about prions they don't even want to know when they're there.
Since people aren't willing to test for CJD, the government really doesn't know how many cases there actually are. There could be thousands.
And frighteningly enough, those meager thousands could shoot up to millions in the near future.
Currently, in the United States Department of Agriculture, or the USDA, less than 1% of our cattle are tested for mad cow disease.
Dun-dun-dun-dun!
In Japan and Ireland, every cow that is sent into market gets tested. And even in Europe, at least 30% of animals are tested. Why are our testing rates so low?
Dun-dun-dun-dun! Right now, the USDA clearly doesn't have the consumer's best interests in mind. USDA scientists are arguing that more testing for prions in animals is unnecessary, but Professor Stanley Prusiner, who won the Nobel Prize for his discovery of prions, recently stated that the testing for mad cow disease in the USA is grossly inadequate. Shouldn't the word of a Nobel Prize winning scientist be taken over the USDA spokespersons?
Da-da-da-da! And even though the selling of downer cows, cows that exhibit neurological dysfunction, was banned a few years back, the USDA isn't going far enough. Downer cows have been almost completely taken over by the prion. This disease spreads so easily because in our beef industry, healthy cows are fed the inedible remains of other cows. Parts such as the brain and spinal cord are fed to cattle to save money. And, of course, an infected cow's brain and spinal cords are just the perfect place for prions to congregate. Even so, a cow with the prion disease can still seem healthy and be infected with a lot of nasty prions. So the banning of downer cows isn't really covering all of our needs here.
And it's not as if cooking contaminated meat makes it safer to eat. The tainted meat has to be cooked, carbonized at 600 degrees Celsius, and by then it would be a pile of ashes.
Ouch, that's hot! New evidence has been shown that prions can be passed via blood transfusion. Donors and acceptors have died in the UK and in France. Brain break! If you were a zombie,
Part 3. Where?
now that you know what a prion is and how it spreads, we will tell you all about where it can go. Prion diseases only affect the prion protein gene, otherwise known as the PRNP gene. This gene provides instructions for making the proteins that are called prion proteins, also known as PRPs, which are active in the brain, other tissues, and some forms have even been documented as being in the nervous system.
Although it is unknown what PRPs actually do, it is probably involved with changing copper ions into cells. Researchers have also proposed that PRPs may help with cell signaling, cell protection, and the formation of synapses, which are the junctions between nerve cells, neurons, where cell-to-cell communication occurs. But where in the world have there been outbreaks of prion diseases?
Well, in the 1950s and 60s, there was an outbreak of kuru in Papua New Guinea. The people who died were members of the South Four, a tribe of approximately 8,000 people who inhabit the Okapa subdistrict of the Eastern Highlands province. The kuru epidemic swept through the South Four, claiming the lives of more than 1,000 members of the tribe. What's so strange about it is that later they established that the disease was transmitted by the tribe's practice of eating the bodies of dead members of their tribe. According to an affiliate of National Geographic, when an individual died, the female relatives were responsible for dismembering the body. They would remove the brain, arms, and feet, strip the muscle from the limbs, and open the chest and abdomen to remove the internal organs. Those that died of kuru were highly regarded as sources of food because they had layers of fat which resembled pork. It was primarily the four women who took part in this ritual. Often, they would feed morsels of brain to young children and elderly relatives. Among the tribe, it was, therefore, women, children, and the elderly who mostly became infected. Fortunately, kuru has only been seen among this tribe. According to Science Daily, many of us are familiar with prion disease from its most startling and unusual incarnations, the outbreaks of mad cow disease, also known as bovine spongiform encephalopathy, that created a crisis in the global beef industry, or the strange story of kuru, the fatal illness affecting a tribe in Papua New Guinea known for its cannibalism. Both are forms of prion disease caused by the abnormal folding of a protein and resulting in progressive neurodegeneration and death. While exactly how the protein malfunctions had been shrouded in mystery, scientists at the Scripps Research Institute now report in the Journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS, that reducing copper in the body delays the onset of disease. Mice lacking a copper transport gene live significantly longer while infected with the prion disease than most normal mice did. Michael Oldstone, a Scripps research professor, said that, quote, "This conclusively shows that copper plays a role in the misfolding of the protein, but is not essential to that misfolding," end quote.
So that seems kind of confusing, so let me break that down for you. Let's say that we have some bread.
You know what's in bread? Gluten. Now, bread is pretty much always made with gluten, but it is also possible for there to be gluten-free bread. In the same manner, copper is necessary for the protein to be misfolded, but it is possible for the protein to misfold on its own as well. Not having copper merely slows down the process.